Well, hey, my name is Ben Auger. I'm the lead pastor here. I had a weird Mother's Day last Sunday because I learned that one of my former youth group students, he committed suicide. And I told you this was going to be a heavy one, so just warning you, it's going to continue that way. Now, this is public information. This former student is an adult. His parents have been posting about this all over Facebook. It's public information at this point, and they've even been posting photos constantly online. So I'm going to post a photo right here. Here it is. His name was Ryan. He was 22 years old, and this is what he looked like. Ryan's death was very out of left field for me, and those of you that knew Ryan is very out of left field for you too. Ryan was a Christian. Ryan was raised in a good Christian home by awesome Christian parents. Ryan was a good student. He was involved in clubs. He was involved in activities. He went to college, very educated. And Ryan was confident. Some of you knew Ryan. You would say that he was stubbornly confident, very sure of himself, almost to a fault. But you would also say that he was unshakable in his worldview. And so when I heard about his death, I said, I didn't know Ryan was having any problems, and people said that to me too. What was wrong? I said, I don't know. We had no idea. Was he depressed? Was he dealing with something? Was he talking to anyone? Did anyone know anything? I still don't know anything, and I think we might have to live with that reality that nobody knows. And now I'm thinking, you know what? I had hundreds of youth group students in my over a decade long being a youth pastor, and most of them seem to be doing fine. But are they fine? I don't know anymore. And I wonder, did I set them well? Did I set them up well for life with how I taught them? And did my teaching and my ministry prepare them for what's ahead? Was anything I taught to them relevant to the real things that they're going to deal with in life? And so, flash forward to where I'm at right now. This is 2023. I don't have youth group students anymore. I have you guys and even people who aren't here today. And I wonder, how many people do I have right now who appear confident and appear unshakable, just like Ryan, but are actually struggling on the inside? I don't even know it. Maybe nobody knows it. And I wonder how many people consistently show up for work, consistently have a functional marriage, but are headed for breakdown if they keep up this pace. And I wonder how many people just appear fine on the outside, but are just battling big feelings on the inside. Trauma, pressure, depression, sadness, worry, resentment, all these things. And so I'm wondering, at what point do we talk about it? And are we going to let the pressure kill us, or should we talk about it before that happens?
Yes.
And so, let me ask you guys a question. Is this too real? Is this too real today? I mean, do you want to be a church? We can be a church where we pretend everything's fine. We can do that. There's several of them. We could be like that. Or can we go there?
Yes.
Can we be a church where it's okay to talk about real issues that we're dealing with on the inside? Can we be that kind of church?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm looking around the room here. I see so many people here. You're consistent. You are showing up for work. You're earning that paycheck. You're there for your family. You're doing a good job. And I look around the room and I see people here. You're so confident. You're unshakable in your faith and your worldview. You know what you believe and you're firm in that. And outwardly, you're smiling. Outwardly, you're showing up. But inwardly, there are people here battling real depression. There are people here dealing with anxiety. Your anxiety might be through the roof sometimes, but even when it's not through the roof, maybe it's just there, just like a dead fish in the fridge. It stinks. And it's like, it's not, I can close the fridge and ignore that, but it's there, and it's always there, and I don't want to open it. And so some of us have that anxiety that's just there constantly. And maybe you have work stress or kid stress, and you're not broken down, but it's breaking you down. And if you continue at this pace, you will break down. And maybe you feel like you just can't handle it. I can't handle it much longer. You might snap, you might burn out, but you're on the road to whatever that looks like. And so if you're dealing with any of this, I want you to know that you're not alone and that you're in the right place. And you're in the right place and with people at the right time today, this week, this month, or in this moment. And so today we're starting a series that's called Peace of Mind. And we don't want to be Christians who pretend everything is all right, but we want to be Christians who attend to what's going on in our minds. We're not here to pretend, we're here to attend to this thing that God gave us. So today we're laying the foundation about What are the myths? What are the mental health myths that kind of keep us on this stuck path, this road to destruction, this road to burnout? What are the myths, and how do we get rid of these myths so that we can start a journey toward peace of mind, toward better mental health as Christians? And so let's ask the question, what are those myths? What are the most dangerous myths in mental health? Let me introduce them, and then we'll talk more about them. First, we have the myth that Christians shouldn't struggle with mental health. Second is that my faith will cure me. Third is that secular provision is not God's provision. Fourth is that God doesn't care. And these are so destructive, we'll get rid of those in a minute. But the bottom line is this, is that getting help is not weakness, it's wisdom. I'll say it again. Yes. Getting help is not weakness, it's wisdom. Yes. You hear our resident counselor saying, yeah, I believe it. Yeah. And so other people are like, are you sure? Let's talk about it, because I believe this message is vitally important today. There are so many people like Ryan who look fine on the outside but struggle on the inside. And either we are that person or we know that person. Even if you're not that person, you know that person. So you gotta know the resources. You gotta know how to help that person, even if you're not that person. And too many Christians also have just poor mental health, declining mental health. And it's because we embrace these four myths. We embrace them, and then we just get worse. And so I believe if we do away with some myths today, we'll not only be healthier people, but we'll be honoring God with our minds. Because in the scripture, he tells us to love him with, but let me just read you the scripture, Matthew 27. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. Yeah, let's start doing that. So let's start with number one. What are the most dangerous mental health myths? Number one is that Christians shouldn't struggle with mental health. And we've earned a reputation. We have a reputation for being bad at this. We have a reputation for being fake. People think Christians are just fake. They go to church, they put a smile on every Sunday morning. Christians like to pretend everything's okay. I'm not making this up. I talk to people who think that you're all here pretending on Sunday morning. And I'm not sure if that's true, but what I've noticed is that when Christians are doing great, Christians show up for church, which also means that when Christians are struggling, especially with mental health, they're not showing up to church. In fact, some Christians hide until it gets better. And if it never gets better, they just hide. They just hide. And part of the problem is that Christians, we think we shouldn't struggle with mental health. We think that we shouldn't battle depression. We shouldn't have anxiety. If we have true faith, we should never get burnt out. And we think that if we do have those things, then it's our fault somehow, that somehow we're living in sin. Or we feel like someone's going to tell us that Satan's in our life if we tell them about what we're struggling with. Or someone's going to tell us that we're not praying enough, we're not reading our Bible enough, and so we hide. We feel shame when we experience these mental health symptoms because someone's going to judge our faith. And if we don't want that, we're just going to hide, and we'll come back when we feel better. That way we don't feel judged. Because for some reason we think that Christians shouldn't deal with this sort of things. Or we just deny the struggles altogether. I'm a faithful person. I don't deal with any of that because I'm a strong Christian. And so we either hide or we deny it, but either way we feel like we shouldn't have these feelings, these thoughts, these emotions as Christians. I want you guys to look at your neighbor, look at him, say this: I won't hide when I'm struggling. Let's put it all together. I won't hide when I'm struggling. I want you to look at your other neighbor, your second choice, and say this: I'm here for you.
Everyone turn to your right.
When you're struggling. I'm here for you when you're struggling.
I'm here for you when you're struggling.
Listen, from the beginning of the church in the New Testament, we are instructed to be a community of Christians, a family of faith that help each other through emotions and mental health struggles. That's why I had you say that to each other, because they were saying that to each other 2,000 years ago. Here's what it says in 1 Corinthians 12. Have the same care for one another. If one member suffers, all suffer together. It also says in Galatians 6, bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. And again in Hebrews 3, encourage one another daily, as long as it is called today. So it's clear in the Bible that Christians suffer mental health problems, and it expresses here that we need care and we need to carry each other's burdens, that we need encouragement because we deal with these things. So it's not denying it, and it's saying we need to help each other through it. So we need to be a community where it's okay to admit that we're not all right all the time, even on Sunday morning. We come and we're not okay. We need to be prepared as a family to do something about it. Those of you who know me, those of you who know my family well, know that we have a variety of mental health struggles in our household. And those of you who've known us for a while have helped us by bringing us out of those low moments. You've walked that journey with us. One week, this was years ago, one week we were really dealing with some low moments, and we just felt really depressed. We were in the dumps that week, that month, and just some things were happening to us and in our household, and we were not in a good place. So I asked Jen, I said, Jen, should we cancel small group tonight? We were hosting a group each Friday night, and I said, I know we've been through a lot. We don't feel like hosting. We just don't have it in us, and I feel like we should take some time to process this before we reemerge and lead this group. But here's what Jen said. No. We need to host group this Friday night. You see, times like these are exactly why we have the group. And plus, it's important for them to see us at our worst, because if we only ever show them our best, it's not very authentic. And how are they going to learn anything about when they're going through this if they never see us when we're going through this? And so we're here, a pastor and a counselor and 3 kids who are supposed to have their lives together as children of professionals and Christians. And so we're here telling a room full of Christians today and years ago that we are not okay. Things are bad, and we don't have an easy answer for this. And we don't know when we're going to be all right. And so if you're a pastor and his family can say that and do that, then so can you. You can admit it. You can admit things are not all right, and I don't know when they will be all right. And so will you throw away the myth that Christians shouldn't struggle with mental health?
Yes.
Throw it away.
It's an easy one to throw away because it's clearly not biblical. We saw it in the Bible. The Bible does away with it. And so the scriptures are making clear that getting help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Will you commit to coming to church and coming to your groups when you're struggling?
Oh, yeah.
Let's do that. Let's look at number 2. Myth number 2 is that my faith will cure me. This one's so dangerous because it's based on a false promise that says if we come to Jesus, Jesus fixes everything. And it's a false promise that if we have faith, then we can move mountains. And since this mountain isn't moving, then I need to increase my faith. And it's damaging because either we don't see the results and we don't think we have faith, or it damages our mental health because we're only trying one strategy, and that's faith. If faith is your only strategy and it's not working, then you just feel like, well, I'm not doing it enough. And keep trying and trying. Your faith declines, your mental health declines. You're only trying one thing. Some people think, well, I just need to add one thing to my faith. I need to add faith in prayer. Then this will get better. Or if I add faith in more Bible reading, this will get better. If I add faith in handling snakes, all this will go away. People will try all these faith things and they just think, I just need to keep improving my faith. It's not helping. And it's just a negative cycle that you get stuck in. And so one thing we know is that the best lies are based on a nugget of truth. Yep. And this is a dangerous myth. The dangerous myth that our faith can cure us is based on nuggets of truth. Here are the nuggets of truth. Nugget 1. It's the truth. God works all things together for good for those who have faith, for those who are redeemed. God works it together for your good. That is a nugget of truth. Here's another nugget of truth. It's that the Holy Spirit gives you power from on high. Another nugget of truth. Jesus saves you from the penalty of sins. Do you believe it?
Yes.
This is good news. Another nugget of truth is that you're saved, you're forgiven, you're redeemed, you're filled with His power. He will never leave you. Those are good nuggets of truth. Giant gold nuggets in your pocket. Are you ready for the cubic zirconia in your pile of gold nuggets?
Yes.
Here it is. Jesus fixes every area of your life right away. I
No.
want you to take that cubic zirconia and say, get out of my nugget. Get out of here. You ever seen fool's gold? You're carrying fool's gold if you carry that nugget. Here's another piece of fool's gold, is that your level of faith corresponds with your level of healing. Will you take that nugget and throw it back into the little bin at the little mall kiosk? Just put it back in there. You don't want that one. Those are myths. And those lies are based on all the truth that we hold. The truth is, you can love Jesus and still be depressed. You can love Jesus and still get burnt out.
Yeah.
And the truth is that having faith in Jesus doesn't make you 100% mentally healthy. Just like faith in Jesus doesn't make you 100% physically healthy. I've never met a born-again Christian who said, oh, check it out, I got abs now, look at me. I became a Christian, I lost 15 pounds. I no longer have a peanut allergy. It's great, you should try it. No one's ever said that. And in the same way, no one's ever said, hey, since I became a Christian, I'm 100% mentally healthy. That mental health condition vanished. No one's ever said that because it doesn't work like that.
Right.
Following him doesn't make you instantly better. It doesn't fix everything right away. Now, don't get me wrong. Faith in Jesus helps a lot with mental health. It's a critical factor. And it's statistically proven that faith helps with mental health. It actually helps with physical health too, since we mentioned that, and the research proves that out too. But while faith in Jesus will improve mental health, you need to understand that as faithful Christians, we live in tension. The tension is already, but not yet. Will you guys say already, but not yet?
Already, but not yet.
That's the tension we live in. And it's a theological concept. It describes it really well in this Bible verse in 1 John 3. It says, dear friends, we are now children of God, and what we will be has not yet been made known. But we know that when Christ appears, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. That means that we are already children of God, already saved, already loved, already forgiven. You already possess this truth. But it also means that you're not yet completely free from the presence of sin. Not yet taken to heaven. Not yet given a body and mind that is free from struggles, free from problems. You live in that tension of already possessing so much, but not yet everything. And so I want to show you that being not yet healed from hurt, not yet healed from stress or depression, that's not a lack of faith. That's just a tension that we live in. In fact, it takes a lot of faith to say, I am not yet whole. Jesus is going to make me whole. It takes faith to say that. It takes faith to say, I am saved from sins, but not yet saved from the mental health effects of sin in this world and in my life. And it takes faith to say, I need help. So my question for you today is, will you believe that you can say, I need help and still have faith? Will you believe that?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's good news because remember, getting help is not weakness, it's wisdom. And so will you do away with the dangerous myth that faith alone will cure you?
Yes.
Let's do that. So let's look at number 3, the myth that secular provision isn't God's provision. Don't take my quote and post a picture of me and quote, secular provision isn't God's provision. Don't quote me on these myths. Those are myths. We're trying to chuck those, okay? So some Christians think that God's only provision is supernatural healing. That's one trick pony. That's all he does. Or they think, some Christians think God is against counseling as a path to healing, or that he's against medication or medicine as a path to healing. But let me be clear and say this. Seeking medical care for mental illness or any illness isn't a lack of faith, and it isn't against God's plan. That one you can quote me on. Go ahead and post that on the caption. Every time the Bible speaks about doctors, every time the Bible speaks about medicine, the scriptures affirm both of those things. Look at Colossians 4 with me. It says, it calls Luke the beloved physician. It affirms his position as a medical doctor. Oh, Luke, you should quit being a doctor. Come be a missionary. But no, stay a medical doctor. We need those. He's a beloved physician. In fact, take him with us so he can heal us while we're on our journey. Another instance, Paul told Timothy to use wine to help his upset stomach. I don't know if that works, but it is an instance of using some kind of medication to cure him, not to just, do a faith healing for an upset stomach. Also, James tells the church to use oil with the assistance of healing. That's a sort of medication. And so why would any Christian say that an SSRI, that God can't use that to heal depression? We wouldn't say that. And why would any Christian say that a licensed therapist cannot be used to help anxiety? We wouldn't say that, because we wouldn't say that about any of these physical medications or physical doctors. We wouldn't say that about mental health doctors and medication as well. So, would a Christian say that we shouldn't use an inhaler to help with asthma? No. Would a Christian say we shouldn't use insulin to help with diabetes? No, we wouldn't say that. So let me just be clear and say that sometimes supernatural healing, that is God's provision for it. We believe it, we pray for it, we want it. Most times, good doctors, medication, wise counselors, and advances in those fields of study. That is God's provision for you. And remember that group I talked about that we hosted on Friday nights years ago? Yeah. So that group knew all about our mental health challenges in our family, and they definitely had our back 100%. One guy in our group, very faithful man of God, he said, have you tried praying for God to heal your family of this mental health condition and issue? And we said, we have. And we hope that, will you keep praying for this? Group, will you pray for this, that God supernaturally heals it? And so they were constantly praying for God to supernaturally heal us of this issue, and that God would give us provision. Let me tell you what happened. God came through for our family, big time. Here's how God came through for our family. He provided a private school for my kid, where only 5% of applicants get into the school. That was God's provision for us. We're praying supernatural hit. Here's a private school. God's provision. God gave us, okay, here's the thing. For therapy, the type of therapy we needed, it was at least a 1-year wait list, and there was no way we were going to get in anytime soon. But the problem is you're dealing with it now, and the therapy can't be had now. Here's what God gave us. He gave us a way around the wait list. Yeah, supernatural provision. I got you around the wait list. Thanks God. We were thanking God so hard for getting us around a wait list to get the therapy, to get the counseling that we needed. And here's the thing. It was expensive therapy, $125 an hour. And we were paying for it, but man, we can't keep paying for this. We were told that you can't get health insurance, medication, or Medicaid. You can't get anyone to pay for this. You just got to pay for it. But then God provided us a way. He provided us a waiver so that now the medication and the therapy is all covered financially. God's provision came through secular things. And it wouldn't be right for me to say that God's provision can never be the same thing as government provision or the same thing as medical provision. For me to say that those things aren't God's provision is simply false, because as Christians we believe that all truth is God's truth. And so when medicine and therapy produce anything that's true, that truth belongs to God. All truth is His, and when they produce the truth, that's now God's truth. It always was God's truth. Just because we discover it doesn't mean that God didn't know it, and that God didn't ordain it, and that God didn't provide it for us, for our healing and our health and for our peace of mind. So any truth, anything that helps you with your mental health, that's God's truth. Do not reject truth just because you call it secular and just because you have this one idea in mind of what God can do. And my point is that God will provide for you. Please don't get choosy with how He does that. He will provide, but you don't get to tell Him which way He provides. Here's my question. Do you believe God can heal you?
Yes.
Do you believe God can heal you with medicine?
Yes.
Do you believe God can heal you with medical professionals?
Yes.
Okay, so if He can heal for you, and He will provide for you in any number of these ways, and if all truth is God's truth, then it's time to step out in faith and seek help. Because getting help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And let's do away with this myth. Will you do away with this myth that secular provision isn't God's provision?
Yes.
Let's do away with that. Number 4 is that God doesn't care. God doesn't care about mental health. Some Christians think that God only cares about your sin and your salvation and those kind of spiritual things, and that God only cares about our obedience and righteousness, things of, that nature. Some people think that God has bigger problems to deal with. He cares about others. He doesn't care about my emotions, my feelings, the things I'm going through in my mind. But the truth is that God cares about the state of our minds. And you need to look no further than the Psalms. If you read any Psalm, you will see that God cares so much about what we're going through emotionally and mentally. Check out Psalm 27. It says, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?" Fear is a mental health issue. Psalm 34, "The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit." That is the Lord caring about our mental health. Psalm 23, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." Wow, God cares about my comfort. He's not just here to put a stress test on me and see if I'm faithful. He actually cares about how I feel. If you've ever doubted that God cares about your state of mind, go to the Psalms, please. And if you ever doubt that faithful people can have mental health problems, go to the Psalms. Look there. Psalm 88 was written by a guy. His name was He-Man. Not this He-Man. He might have looked like that. We can't rule it out. But the He-Man we're talking about is in the Bible. You can take that off the screen now. They're not listening to me. I lost them. So, He-Man. Okay, not that one. He-Man was a kind of man. He was a man of God. He was the kind of man that men want to be. He had great wisdom. It says that in 1 Kings. Great musical ability. He was a committed parent. He served the king. This was the biblical He-Man, and this was a man of God. Let me show you what he wrote in Psalm 88. This man of God wrote Psalm 88. And he said, "I am overwhelmed with troubles, and my life draws near to death. I am counted among those who go down to the pit. I am like one without strength." Ouch. "I am set apart from the dead, with the dead, like the slain who lie in the grave, whom you remember no more, who are cut off from your care." I want you to see here, this man of God is depressed, anxious, stressed, overwhelmed, burnt out, whatever you want to call it. He's right there in it. And I want you to see here that this that he's doing the same thing you're doing. He's seeking God for help. Watch what he says in Psalms 88:13. He says, "But I cry to help. I cry to you for help, Lord. In the morning, my prayer comes before you." If you're here this morning, you're really going through it, you're doing the first right thing. You're in the right place. You're crying out, "God, help me. God, take me through this. God, I cry to you for help." But let me show you how he ends his psalm. He says, "Why, Lord, do you reject me and hide your face from me? You have taken from me friend and neighbor. Darkness is my closest friend." And right there is where the psalm ends. And most of the psalm writers, they do this. They have a rhythm where they complain to God, they complain, and then they say something like, "Oh, but you, O Lord, are great. Praise be to God." They wrap it up that way. He-Man doesn't do that. He just ends it by saying, "Darkness is my closest friend." There's your lead balloon, God.
There you go.
Right in your lap. That's the...
Lay it.
He loved God, he served God, and he doesn't give a positive ending. And this is in the Bible. God kept that in the Bible. What does that show us? It shows us he's not afraid of our honesty, is he? It shows us he's not angry when we question him, is he? It shows that he's with you when you're worshiping him, and he's with you when you're hurting. And it shows us that when you hurt, he cares. He hears and he cares. That's what I learned in this psalm. And that means you can turn to him when you are hurt because he also hears. Do you believe that God cares about you?
Yes.
Then will you talk to him when you hurt?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you really believe he cares, then you will talk to him when you hurt. And we know from the Psalms that he cares about your state of mind. And we know here that he can handle our honesty. So don't bury it. Cry for help. Don't stuff it. Don't sweep it under the rug. Don't carry that reputation that Christians should just hide this, you got to get help, because getting help is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. So what we talk about today, well, we got real. We admitted that it's possible to look completely okay on the outside and still be suffering on the inside. And there's a lot of myths out there that make us want to pretend everything is all right. Myths like Christians shouldn't struggle with mental health. Myths like my faith will cure me. Myths like secular provision isn't God's provision. Myths like God doesn't even care. But we busted those myths with Scripture, and that means we can stop pretending we don't need help, because now we know getting help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. I believe that when you destroy these most dangerous health myths, it'll free you. It'll free you from worry in your life. You can be free from persistent sadness. You can be free from burnout. You can be free from anger, bitterness, trauma. You can be free from these things. I believe God provides for you in these areas. Whatever's holding you back, you can beat it. God cares. God will help you. God will provide. You got to get the wisdom, though. You got to get the wisdom to get help. That is wisdom, not weakness.
Right.
Let me share this verse again with you. Matthew 22:37. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. It's interesting, isn't it? Let me ask you a question. Have you been loving God with all your heart? Yeah. Doing a good job. Have you been loving God with all your soul?
Yeah.
You've been loving God with all your mind? Oh, did I forget about that one?
Working on it.
Okay. Sometimes we forget about that as Christians. God only cares about our soul. He only cares about our heart. Wait a minute. He wants me to love him with all my mind. Oh, I missed it. We miss it, don't we? See, a lot of people give their hearts to him. They turn over their souls to him. They don't turn over their minds to him. Maybe you've been stubborn about the state of your mind. Maybe that's a stronghold in your life, that you haven't turned over your mind to God. I have good news for you today. It's from Isaiah 26. Is that it says you saying to God, you, God, keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you.
Yes.
That's an invitation for you today, to stay your mind on God. And God, let God give you perfect peace. Whatever emotion, whatever mindset, whatever state of mind you're stuck in, it's time to give that to God. Love God with all your mind. Let him grant you that perfect peace by asking God, God, help me right now. I'm no longer fearing weakness, but I'm gaining wisdom and reaching out and asking you to help and to heal today. God's here. He's in this room. God provides. He even provides for you when you're in this room. So we're going to play one more song. I'm going to open up the front. If anyone wants to come up and pray. You can even change your mind, change your heart. You can let God change your mind and heart even from where you sit, even if you're too shy to come up. But for a few silent moments, I just want to leave you with this question. Before the song plays, before you stand, I just want to leave you with this moment, with this question. What is your next step in following Jesus today? What is your next step?